Coming up on Network Africa. Malawi's former president Peter Mutharika takes clear lead in presidential race with 66% of votes. Over 90% of Guineans vote yes to allow military junta to run for presidency. Plus, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger announced immediate withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us on the program today. I am Amarachi Ubani. The presidential election in Malawi might as well be over as former President Peter Mutharika has taken a comfortable lead, with 2/3 of districts having reported provincial results. Mr. Mutharika has received around 66% of the valid votes counted so far. His closest rival, the incumbent Lazarus Chakwera, trailing on around 24%. According to the results, Mutharika has won in areas known to be President Chakwera's strongholds, including the capital Lilongwe and Nkotakota. Chakwera's camp, however, says once results are declared from other areas, his vote will increase and he could force a runoff. The Electoral Commission has until the end of September 24 to announce the full presidential election results, saying it is carefully checking every tally sheet after the Constitutional Court annulled Mutharika's 2019 election victory due to irregularities, including the use of correction fluid on result sheets. Meanwhile, the former president's party, the Democratic Progressive Party, is confident its candidates will be victorious in the presidential election even before the results are officially announced.
For the Commission to make a determination, they don't just depend on the results that have been given to them. There are also other issues that we consider. One, the complaints that have been received pertaining to that. So the Commission has to address each and every complaint before making a determination on the result. The Commission has looked into 24 councils out of 36 regarding the presidential election. The determination continues tomorrow, and the Commission has made it strongly that it will do everything possible to ensure that the final result of the presidential election is announced within the time provided by the law. That is 8 days, within 8 days from the 16th of September.
We are okay. We are cruising nicely. It's our election. We've won it. So we just have to wait for the official announcement, which we believe will be done within the next 24 or 48 hours.
While staying with elections this time in Guinea, voters appear to have overwhelmingly supported a constitutional reform that could allow General Mamadi Doumbouya to run for president. According to provincial results released by the electoral body overseeing the vote, more than 90% of Guineans voted yes in favor of the new constitution. The head of Guinea's General Directorate of Elections, Jimbo Toure, announced that the constitution looks set to pass with 90.6% of votes in favor and 9.4% against. General Doumbouya ousted President Alpha Condé in 2021, claiming he acted to prevent the country from slipping into chaos and criticizing the previous government for broken promises. He has not officially stated whether he will be running in the upcoming election, but opposition leaders have called on their supporters to boycott the referendum, denouncing it as a masquerade. To other issues now, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have announced their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. In a joint statement, the three military-led countries say they will no longer recognize the authority of the top court, calling it an instrument of neo-colonialist repression. They also accuse the ICC of targeting African states while failing to prosecute major global powers. However, out of 33 cases launched since its inception, all but one involved an African country. All three countries maintain close ties with Russia, whose leader, Vladimir Putin, is subject to an international criminal court arrest warrant. The 80th session of the UN General Assembly has begun in earnest today at the headquarters in New York. Late Monday, Secretary General Antonio Guterres and President of the General Assembly, Annalena Baerbock, highlighted this year's theme, Better Together, 80 years and more for peace, development and human rights. Ms. Baerbock said the gathering should not only be remembered for its milestone year, but as a moment when it called on extraordinary resolve equal to the extraordinary challenges. Mr. Guterres highlighted the milestone year in his address.
This is why this is the theme of this 80th session, Better Together. It's more than a hot motto, it's a hard-won truth. It's our commitment for the next 80 years. Our commitment to not only hope for problems to vanish, but to find the courage to confront them. Better together means to act where action is hard, to choose dialogue and diplomacy when division is easier. Hope at this 80th anniversary means that this session is not remembered not only for its milestone year, but as a moment when we called on extraordinary resolve equal to the extraordinary challenges we face. We owe this to the people, to the men and women, boys and girls who are not giving up, even in the darkest hours of war, who look still to the streaming blue flag for hope, the flag of our United Nations. Not perfect, not finished, but always better together.
Peace is the most courageous, the most practical, the most necessary pursuit of all. We must not only defend the United Nations, we must strengthen it. And that is the purpose of Agenda 2030, the Pact for the Future and the UN80 initiative, to renew the foundations of international cooperation and to ensure that we can deliver for people everywhere.
Also attending this year's UNGA is Nigeria's Vice President, Kashim Shettima, who showcased Nigeria's $200 billion energy transition opportunity to investors, emphasizing the need for partnerships to maximize the multifaceted, multi-billion investment opportunities across the country. He says this at a roundtable hosted by the Business Council for International Understanding, which took place on the sidelines of the UNGA. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lassisi, reports on this and other activities for the day.
This special gathering taking place in the United Nations headquarters is a ceremony to mark the 80th anniversary of the United Nations. Vice President Kashim Shettima joined other heads of government for a short ceremony to commemorate the event. He was accompanied by some ministers and aides. United Nations Secretary General, giving the opening remarks of the occasion, emphasized the ever-present need for the founding principles of the Union.
To meet these challenges, we must not only defend the United Nations, we must strengthen it. And that is the purpose of Agenda 2030, the Pact for the Future and the UN80 initiative, to renew the foundations of international cooperation and to ensure that we can deliver for people everywhere.
Afterwards, the Vice President represented President Bola Tinubu at a roundtable organized by the Business Council for International Understanding, which took place on the margins of the United Nations General Assembly.
I want you to continue believing in Nigeria because the trajectory of global growth is facing Africa, and Nigeria will make or mar that transition. Of the 10 unicorns in Africa, about 8 are in Nigeria. Name some of them for me: Andela, Flutterwave, MoneyPoint, Jumia, Opay. That's where the action is. Why do you have to go and waste your resources? Come to Nigeria. Our doors are open for business. We are ready for action.
Other events took place on the sidelines too. At one of such meetings, the Minister of Environment spoke on the need for investments to ensure forest landscape restoration.
Policy is going to address 3 main issues. Number 1 is trying to reduce deforestation, and secondly is going to actually assist in the health of our rural women particularly. And at the same time, we're going to build business around that, because many people are now being encouraged to go into the production of cooking stock.
A very busy day for the Nigerian delegation on the first day of what will be a very, very busy week. And it's only going to get busier. For Tuesday, it's going to turn out to be the first day for the General Assembly and to hear world leaders speak. And we would be expecting more meetings will also be happening. From New York, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
We're off on a short break now on Network Africa. Still ahead. Mali celebrates 65 years of independence with a stunning drone show. We're sorry about this picture. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Network Africa. We're still at the United Nations, but away from the General Assembly. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has responded to France's official recognition of Palestine as a state. He called on UN member states to follow suit, saying that the only solution to the conflict is recognizing 2 states.
Attacks by Hamas. This is a moment of great significance, not only for the people of Palestine, not only for the people of Israel, but for all people who cherish the ideals of freedom and self-determination. Shortly after the United Nations was created, the General Assembly adopted Resolution 181, which recommended the creation of 2 states, Israel and Palestine. Immediately after the adoption of this resolution, only 1 state was created, the State of Israel, casting and ushering the Palestinians into a decades-long wilderness of statelessness, characterized by decades of occupation and now genocide. I'd like to congratulate the President of France, President Macron, for today announcing a very bold decision to support the long overdue creation and the recognition of the sovereign state of Palestine. President Macron, I stand here to congratulate you and to congratulate others who have taken this step. South Africa reiterates its firm commitment to the creation of a contiguous Palestinian state existing peacefully side by side with the State of Israel along the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. South Africa condemned the 7th October attacks by Hamas that resulted in the deaths of more than 1,200 people. In response to this attack, Israel has unleashed disproportionate punishment against the people of Palestine. And we say here today that the only solution to this conflict is a 2-state solution. The viability of a 2-state solution depends on full and universal respect for international law, all states, including the State of Israel, must comply with the collective obligations under international law. As the UN marks the 80th anniversary, we call on all member states to recognize Palestine and to act in solidarity with its people.
The South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, well, his Senegalese counterpart was not far behind. President Bassirou Diomaye Faye reaffirmed Senegal's commitment to a two-state solution, calling for concrete steps towards a viable Palestinian state. He further described the situation in Gaza as indescribable tragedy that resembles ethnic cleansing, adding that the universal conscience is deeply shaken by the unbearable situation. So many values are now shattered in the rubble of Gaza, he says. President Faye also welcomed the overwhelming vote at the UN in favor of a peaceful two-state solution and praised recent moves by several countries, including France, to officially recognize a Palestinian state. Humanitarians in Sudan are warning of a sharp decline in the humanitarian situation in El Fasher, the besieged capital of North Darfur, where deadly attacks and fresh displacement are compounding the suffering of civilians. Speaking to reporters today, UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric noted the International Organization for Migration reports that about 7,500 human beings have fled Abu Shuk displacement camp and parts of El Fasher town in just a few days between September 17 and 19. All of this being done while there is a heightened sense and reality of insecurity.
And our humanitarian colleagues are warning of a sharp decline in the humanitarian situation in El Fasher, which, as you know, is the besieged capital of North Darfur, where deadly attacks and fresh displacements are compounding the suffering of civilians. The International Organization for Migration reports that about 7,500 human beings fled Abu Shuk displacement camps and parts of El Fasher town. That was just in a few days. That's between the 17th and the 19th of September. All of this is being done while there's a heightened sense and reality of insecurity. And you will have seen that over the weekend, the Secretary General expressed his grave alarm at the rapidly deteriorating situation in El Fasher, warning of growing risks to civilians trapped in the area. Also, Tom Fletcher, our humanitarian chief, warned that El Fasher is on the brink with civilians besieged in living in famine conditions.
Want to bring you up to speed with one of our lead stories today. Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger announcing their withdrawal from the International Criminal Court. The three military-led countries said they no longer recognize the authority of the top court, calling it an instrument of neo-colonialist repression. They also accused the ICC of targeting African states while failing to promote major global powers. Out of 33 cases, however, launched since its inception, all but one involved an African country. The three countries maintain close ties with Russia, whose leader is subject to the ICC arrest warrant. I want to bring in now a lawyer and assistant counsel at the International Criminal Court, Oluwaleke Atolagbe, to talk some more about this. Oluwaleke, thank you for joining us on the program today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Good evening.
Let's begin with what the usual procedure will be for countries wanting to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. What do they have to do?
Well, just for international organizations generally, what countries typically do is that they go ahead to just withdraw, because most of the times before they withdraw from such organizations, you would have known that, there are some issues, some disputes as to relationships between such countries and the international organization. So because of that, most of the times the procedure are not always laid down and then they withdraw formally most of the times. It's always
due to some disagreements, or they don't believe in the organization again, and then for one reason or the other, they go ahead and announce their withdrawal.
What is the advantage or benefit of joining the ICC? Because I see that some countries, such as the United States, are not signatories to the organization. So are they missing out on something?
Well, I think we need to understand the reason the organization came to be in the first place. The organization ordinarily was not supposed to be. The International Criminal Court was not supposed to be if municipal laws of different countries were to be working appropriately. If you see one of the purposes of the organization is complementarity, to ensure that, okay, cases that are not prosecuted by laws domestically or courts domestically in different countries are now being prosecuted at the International Criminal Court. So eventually, if there is anybody that has committed a crime and the local laws of a particular country is not catching up with him, thereby engendering impunity, then International Criminal Court steps in to go ahead and prosecute such a person. So the essence of this is to ensure world peace and justice. So that's the advantage of the organization to a very large extent. The advantage of being in such organization is that when people commit crimes, particularly crimes designated as those that can be prosecuted at the International Criminal Court that the court has jurisdiction over, such as genocide, war crimes, and crime against humanity, and I think recently the war of aggression, the crime of aggression. So if those crimes are not being prosecuted, and that's what happens most of the times, that the people that are culpable are too powerful, or for one reason or the other, they have escaped justice, or they are likely to escape justice where they have committed the crime. So the International Criminal Court steps in. You will recall few years ago, like 2 years ago, thereabout, that the International Criminal Court issued a warrant of arrest against President Putin of Russia.
Yes.
You know that it will not be expected, for instance, that Russia will prosecute its sitting president for war that is being prosecuted by the same country. So the implication is that justice can actually be brought in for such, for victims.
Right. But I wanted us to quickly look at Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. These are countries that have been taken over by military junta. Are they trying to avoid prosecution in the near future, perhaps? I'm not sure that any one of them is prepared right now to hand over to a civilian government. And I know that, with military governments, we know there are always atrocities being committed in the course of, their regime. So are they trying to avoid any sort of prosecution in the future? Could that be the reason why they're withdrawing from the ICC? And what would that mean for all three countries?
Yes, well, I believe there are several reasons that would make countries such as Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso to withdraw from the International Criminal Courts. Just as you pointed out, such governments in the first place, the heads of these governments of these three countries, of the governments of these three countries, are military. They took over power in so-called an illegitimate way. So they are not supposed to be in the first place. So the question is, such governments, in the first place, they may not even believe in such organization like the International Criminal Court. Then the next point is also that we must note that these governments have been accused of violating human rights and some other activities.
Right.
The fact that they even took over government, military government in the first place, is an aberration in any system. Civilian processes are meant to be followed. So military government in the first place is an aberration. You recall that they already withdrew from ECOWAS. They withdrew from ECOWAS.
Yes,
they formed the Confederation of the Sahel states.
Yes.
And then from there, the next thing is that they go to withdrawal from the International Criminal Court.
Yes, I honestly wish we had a lot of time, but honestly, this is where we'll have to keep the conversation. Thank you again for joining us on Network Africa.
It's all right. Thank you very much for that.
And as we slowly end the program, it may be under military rule now, but Malians still taking time to celebrate their 65th independence anniversary. On Sunday, a complex drone display lit up Bamako's night sky. That's the capital city. Hundreds of UAVs forming a spectacular light display to mark the anniversary. The first time in the country's history they have done this. Crowds gathered to watch as the drones created intricate images, including a portrait of a Malian president, Colonel Assimi Goïta, symbols of the Malian army's tactical skills and civil military contributions, and a glowing map of the nation.
Comme on l'a dit, ce spectacle a été décidé, autorisé par le président de la transition, le général.
And did you know that Libya is mostly covered by the Sahara Desert, with 90% of its land being desert? Well, now you know. And that will be Network Africa this hour. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubadi.